Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so we are going to we have studied photoelectric effect and production of X-rays. In both these, we have seen that light or EM electromagnetic radiation behaves as particles. And production of X-rays. Now, in photoelectric effect, electromagnetic radiation strikes metal and gives rise to and ejects electrons. And in production of X-rays, electrons strike the target and give out X-ray photons. Right? So these are inverse of each other. Today we are going to see something else, some other phenomena, Compton scattering and pair production. So in both this, we will see that photon picture is still. So these phenomena further confirm the photon picture. Right. So what is a scattering? Scattering means deflection of waves or particles by a target. Right. So here we are going to consider scattering of EM radiation by an electron. So in Compton scattering, we are going to study scattering of EM radiation by an electron. Okay. So let me clear this. right? So let's look at wave picture, right? So there is an electron and there is a wave which is incident, right? So EM wave has electric field. Electric field oscillating in time. Of course, in time and space also. But right now, space part is not important. And and we know electron, an electron in an electric field experiences a force, a force, which is given by charge multiplied by the electric field, right? So what happens if so the oscillating electric field gives rise to oscillating force, and hence electron also oscillates. And with the same frequency, with the same frequency as the electric field, right? So because of this oscillating force, there is an acceleration. Because of this oscillating force, there is an acceleration, and we know that any accelerated charge emits a radiation. So because of this oscillating acceleration, electron emits electromagnetic radiation in all directions, and with the same frequency, and with the same frequency as the incident EM wave, right? So what we expect is this electron will emit radiation with the same frequency in different directions, right? So this is a wave picture. So this is what we expect if you take electromagnetic radiation as wave. Uh, Electromagnetic radiation is incident on electron, and electron emits radiation in different directions with the same frequency, and we see that as scattering. So we think that there is an electromagnetic wave is incident, and then it is scattered. So, but from wave picture, we expect that wave which is scattered has the same frequency as the incident radiation. But experimentally, we don't observe this. This is a wrong picture. What on the next screen I will tell you. This is a wrong picture. Experimentally, we observe that scattered radiation has a smaller frequency. So I will clear this and then we will go to particle picture, which is correct picture.
Sir, will you show the recent slide, sir?
Recent
First slide. Yes, sir.
first slide I have not saved it. I don't know whether I can go back. I didn't
Okay, sir,
save
no
it.
problem.
Let's say, let me try to do undo. Undo will go to this, but no, it will not go to previous slide.
Yes,
You
sir.
want
It will take a lot of time, sir.
right? Yeah. So anyway,
Sir, continue, sir.
I will give you the link to the video, so you can
Yes,
look from
sir. No problem.
there. Okay, so now we will see particle picture. Right, so we have electron here and a photon strikes, photon with frequency nu or energy h nu. Uh, since it's a particle collision, some energy, so electron will get scattered, so electron also will move. So after the collision, what will happen is electron moves in this direction and photon moves in this direction. If this is the original direction, then this angle is say phi. So so electron gets some energy. Initially electron is at rest and now after scattering, electron has got some energy. Where does that energy come from? Of course, that energy will come from the photon. Right? So photons, the scattered photons energy will be little less. So frequency will be little less. So h nu prime is less than h nu, or nu prime is less than nu. Right? So this is what we expect from the particle picture, and this is what is observed in experiments. Right? So in the particle picture, the photon strikes the electron and transfers some energy. So the scattered photon has less energy. Or smaller frequency. But frequency and wavelength are inversely proportional. So lambda prime is greater than lambda. Wavelength of scattered photon is greater than wavelength of incident photon. Frequency or larger wavelength. Right. So this picture is consistent with experimental observation. In fact, the frequency or change in wavelength depends on this angle, right? So one can derive the formula for change in wavelength, and one then then it is confirmed experimentally. Okay, so I will clear this picture, clear this screen, and then we will see. So this is called Compton effect. Compton derived formula for the change in wavelength. Right, so he gave lambda prime minus lambda. We can write as delta lambda, change in wavelength. See, lambda prime is the wavelength after scattering, and we know it is larger than the incident. So this is positive. So this is equal to h by mc into 1 minus cos phi. Okay, right. So the derivation of this formula is not difficult, but still we are not going to derive it. We are not going to derive this formula, and there is a reason, because it uses formula of energy and momentum from relativity. From relativity, and we have not studied relativity. Otherwise, this is just momentum conservation. Like you have studied energy and momentum conservation. The derivation uses energy and momentum conservation. Okay, just like in 12th standard, you must have studied collision of two particles. So you write conservation of equation for conservation of energy and conservation momentum. Same thing here, right? So derivation is not difficult, but since here electron moves very fast, you have to use relativistic formula, which we are not studying. But we will try to understand what this means. So let's say phi is 0, angle is 0, right? That means scattered photon goes straight, it doesn't get deflected. No? So if phi is 0, that is the scattered photon is not deflected. Okay, then we have delta lambda, which is lambda prime minus lambda, equal to h by mc 1 minus cos of 0, cos of 0 is 1 itself, and 1 minus 1 is 0, so we get 0. So change in wavelength is 0. That means wavelength does not change. That is because no energy is transferred to the electron. Huh? The photon doesn't get deflected, that means no energy is transferred to the electron, and therefore energy of the scattered photon is same as the energy of the incident photon, and therefore there is no change in frequency or the change in wavelength. Just a minute. Right? So when photon goes straight, change in wavelength is 0. Okay. Now I will. Okay, I can. Another case is if phi is 180 or pi. So that is there is a head-on collision. Head-on collision, and photon goes back. Right? Then delta lambda is equal to h by mc. 1 minus cos of 180 is minus 1. So it is minus 1. So it is twice h by mc. See, this is the largest difference one can have. That is because this value minus 1 is the smallest value of cos. So cos can take value between plus 1 and minus 1. So minus 1 is the smallest value of cos. And therefore, 1 minus cos has the largest value when cos is 180. Therefore, delta lambda also has the largest value when cos is 180. Therefore, that means energy lost is also maximum when phi is 180. That is obvious, no? When something you when there is a collision, and let's say collision between two balls, and ball gets deflected, then energy transferred will be less. But when there is a head-on collision, energy transfer will be maximum, right? So, so here change in wavelength is maximum. Change in wavelength and the energy transferred. Transferred is maximum in this case, right? Okay, I will clear this. Then we'll consider phi equal to 90. If phi is equal to 90, that means photon goes in the perpendicular direction. Then delta lambda is h by mc. 1 minus cos 90 is 0. So you get h by mc. right? So this is denoted as lambda c, and it is called as Compton wavelength. So lambda c is equal to h by mc is called Compton wavelength. So that is the change in wavelength when phi gets deflected by 90 degrees. Right? At any other angle, you will get some intermediate change in wavelength. Right? So it changes continuously. Right? So I mean, so this is confirmed in the experiments. If you that the change in wavelength is, it depends on the angle. Right? So Compton carried out experiments, and he got curve like this. So this is delta lambda. This is the original wavelength, and this is lambda prime, and this is delta lambda. So if you keep detector, if you keep detector at some angle, then of course some incident radiation also enters the detector, and some scattered also detects enters the detector. So you get a peak corresponding to incident radiation and a peak corresponding to that angle. Right? So you get two peaks like this. Right? So this is intensity versus lambda for some angle. Okay. So this is one. So this effect is called Compton effect. Whatever we have studied, Compton effect. That is delta lambda is equal to h by mc 1 minus cos phi, or we can write as lambda c 1 minus cos phi. This is called as Compton effect. So you should remember this formula. Okay. So now I will clear this, and we will go to the new topic, pair production. Right? So we have seen at microscopic level, we see so many phenomena which are totally different. Uh, we can't imagine them in the macroscopic world. So pair production is also one such phenomena which is difficult to imagine. Right? So there is so in pair production, a photon disappears near a nucleus. It has to happen. It cannot happen in free space. A photon disappears, and an electron positron pair is created. Electron and positron pair is created. What is a positron? So positron, maybe you are hearing this for the first time. Positron is a particle having the same properties as an electron, except it has positive charge. Right? So charge on electron is, as we know, minus 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulombs. So electron is with minus sign, and charge on positron is plus 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Everything else, its mass and everything, all properties are same. Only difference is in the charge. Electron has negative charge, positron has positive charge. Right? So what happens? There is a photon, it just disappears, and then one electron moves in one direction, and then there is a positron moving in another direction. Right? So on this side there is an energy. See, photon is just energy. There is no matter. Right? And on this side there is matter. So energy gets converted to matter. Right? So this is not, now it is not surprising. We know there is a, Einstein had given famous relation between energy and matter. What is that famous formula Einstein gave? Do you
E
know?
is equal to mc square.
is equal to MC square.
Right. E is equal to mc square. Right. So so if so any matter has energy given by this formula. Right. Right. So, and we had written relation for momentum that comes from this only. We had written momentum is E by C, which is mc square by C, which is m into C. Mass into velocity is the momentum, right? Right. So we will find out. See, so photon disappears and two particles are created. So these particles have some rest mass energy given by this formula. Now this is mc square and this is also mc square. At least they should have this much energy. I mean, if they are at rest, then they will have this much energy. If they are moving, then there is additional energy, right? But at least when photon disappears, at least this much energy is created. That means this photon should have at least this much energy, twice mc square. If you add this, this is equal to twice mc square. So this photon should have at least 2 mc square energy. Then only this process can take place. Right? So this process can take place only if the photon has energy twice mc square. Okay, so I will clear this, and in the next screen we will find out how much this energy is. Right, so we will find out how much energy the photon should have. So twice mc square. So 2 into mass of electron is 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kgs, and speed of light is 3, so 3 square 9 into 10 raised to 8 square, that is 10 raised to 16. So can you tell me how much is this? 2 into 9.1 into 9 into 10 raised to minus 15. Of course, this is in joules. So we will divide it by charge of the electron, and we will find it in electron volts. So can you tell me how much is this? Minus 15 and minus 19 gives us 10 raised to 4. How much this comes to? See, 81. So this is 160 divided by 1.6. So it will be 10 point something or 100.
So 102.375.
102.7.
375. So
Okay.
37.
That is fine. So we can write this as 1.02 MeV, million electron volts, right? So it is very large. So we can find its wavelength also. Now from wavelength we know how in which range it lies, right? So energy is hc by lambda. So lambda is hc by the energy. Okay, so this is hc energy. No, so hc is h is 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 34 into 3 into 10 raised to 8 divided by, we want energy in joules, right? So we will take this 81 into 160 into 10 raised to minus 15. So 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 13. So can you tell me 6.67 into 3 divided by 1.6? This is 10 raised to minus 26 and into 10 raised to minus 13. How much is this? This is around 20 by 1.6.
It's 12.5.
12.5. So I can write 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 12 meters, or it is 1.25 picometers. No, pico is 10 raised to minus 12. So which range it lies? Which kind of electromagnetic wave is this? Can you tell me? What size X-rays have? What is the wavelength typically X-rays have? X-rays have wavelengths of the size of angstroms, size of atom, and this is much smaller than that. So this is in gamma rays. So this is gamma rays. So what we are saying, for pair production, photon should have at least this much energy, or the wavelength should be smaller than this. Then only you will get pair production. So pair production happens only for gamma rays. Pair production takes place only for gamma rays. And as I have said earlier, it cannot happen in free space. No, because then conservation of momentum will not be there. It cannot happen in free space. So it happens only near a nucleus. So nucleus absorbs, nucleus recoils, and it takes care of momentum conservation. Fine. So we have seen, see, photoelectric effect happens typically for nucleus. Anyway, I will clear this, and we will see one more quickly, one phenomena. So like pair production, there is pair annihilation also. Now, in pair annihilation, electron and positron, they combine together and gives rise to photons. Rather, two photons. It gives rise to two photons. Maybe I should show them in different directions. So E plus and E minus gives rise to two photons. Again, two photons because there has to be conservation of momentum. Okay. Just one photon will not satisfy conservation. So this is called pair annihilation. And pair production, one photon goes to electron and positron. Okay. So symbolically it is written like this. Gamma means photon. Okay. Now what, just to revise, we have seen photoelectric effect is seen for visible or infrared and ultraviolet. So around visible. Plus infrared region. Then after that we say X-ray production or Compton scattering. Not X-ray production, sorry, Compton scattering takes place for X-rays, and pair production happens for gamma rays. Right? So whatever I have taught you till today will be there for your examination syllabus. Right? So you should solve some problems. There are some solved problems which you should read. Maybe I will also write some problems and post it on Google Classroom. And those who are interested should solve more problems. This book has lots of problems, so you should solve them. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me anytime. The more problems you solve, things become more concrete in your mind. Whatever you are studying, it goes into long-term memory as you solve more and more problems. So always, it is always good practice to solve. And when you solve a problem, you come to know whether you have understood the topic correctly. So you should be able to solve the problem independently. You shouldn't see. You shouldn't read solutions. That is not the correct way. Okay, some of the students have this habit. They just see the solution. Okay, okay, this is done. This is done. Okay, understood. Go ahead. That way, it doesn't work. You should be able to independently close the book and solve the problem. When you can do that, you can say that you have understood something. Okay, so reading solutions is not a good habit, but solving problems independently is a good habit, right? So in fact, when you try to solve the problem, you shouldn't try, even if you have solution, you shouldn't try to look at it first. First, you should solve it and then look at the solution. Okay. Okay, so I will stop here. All the best for your exam. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now, or you can ask me later also. Okay, there is something in the chat box. So I'm not giving whatever I wrote on the screen, those are my notes. So I'm not going to give you separate notes. Okay, so I have a habit of writing everything whatever I said. Fine. So you wanted, Pranit, you wanted me to explain the first slide. What was there in the first slide? Or which slide it was? Anyway, you can go through I will give you the link of the video. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me again. I will end the meeting here.
Recording stopped.